Hey there, have you ever stood at a pharmacy counter, looked at the price of your prescription meds, and felt like the entire system was specifically designed to keep you broke? Like, you're not buying a yacht, you're buying Ozempic, or a cholesterol medication, or insulin, basic stuff, and somehow it costs more than your rent. Well, what if I told you the solution wasn't a new law passed through Congress? It wasn't a healthcare reform bill. It was a new website and a digital token. I know. That sounds either brilliant or absolutely terrifying depending on where you stand. But here's the thing. The media is so busy fighting about the politics of this that almost nobody is stopping to explain the economics. And the economics? They are genuinely fascinating and a little bit wild. So today, we're going deep. We're talking about TrumpRx, the most favored nation drug pricing model, and the very strange world of what I'm calling presidential crypto. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how these pieces connect, and you'll be able to decide for yourself whether this is genius policy or the biggest conflict of interest in modern American history. Let's get into it. All right, so first things first. What actually is TrumpRx? At its core, TrumpRx.gov is a government-backed platform designed to let Americans, specifically cash-paying, uninsured Americans, purchase prescription drugs at significantly discounted prices. We're talking about brand-name drugs like Ozempic, the blockbuster diabetes and weight loss medication, or Repatha, a cholesterol drug that normally runs thousands of dollars a year. Now, if you have good insurance, you might be thinking, okay, cool, doesn't really affect me. But here's the thing. Around 25 to 30 million Americans are uninsured. These are the people currently paying the highest prices at the counter because they don't have a PBM, a pharmacy benefit manager, negotiating on their behalf. Speaking of PBMs, let me quickly explain why they matter, because they're the hidden villain in this whole story. Pharmacy benefit managers are the middlemen of the drug world. They sit between insurance companies and drug manufacturers, theoretically negotiating lower prices. But over the years, they've accumulated enormous power, and critics argue they've become part of the problem, taking cuts, creating opaque rebate systems, and actually inflating list prices in ways that benefit them while confusing consumers. TrumpRx essentially tries to cut them out entirely. Here's the best way to think about it. Imagine a members-only warehouse club, like a Costco for prescription drugs. Normally, to get bulk pricing at Costco, you need a membership card. In this analogy, the government's membership card is its trade power. Its ability to say to pharmaceutical companies, you want access to the American market without punishing tariffs, then you're going to offer our citizens the same price you offer Germany, or France, or Canada. That brings us to the engine that actually makes TrumpRx work, the most favored nation model. Here's the brutal truth about American drug prices. The United States pays, on average, 2 to 3 times more for the same brand-name drugs than other developed nations. That same Ozempic injection you pay $900 for in America, patients in Germany are paying closer to $200. Why? Because other governments negotiate directly. The US historically hasn't, at least not at scale. The most favored nation policy changes that equation. The administration essentially says to drug manufacturers, if you want tariff exemptions, if you want to keep selling into the biggest consumer market in the world without getting hit with import duties, then you will match the lowest price you offer in any other developed nation. It's a big boss move, as the outline puts it. The government uses its leverage as the gatekeeper to the American market to force prices down, not through Congress, not through years of legislative negotiation, through executive trade pressure. Now, does it work? That's where it gets complicated, and we'll come back to that. Okay, so TrumpRx as a drug discount platform, that's one thing. Controversial, sure, but somewhat straightforward policy territory. But here's where the story takes a turn that honestly reads like something out of a political thriller. Enter World Liberty Financial, or WLF, and its associated token, WLFI. World Liberty Financial is a decentralized finance or DeFi project. It launched in late 2024 and positions itself as a crypto lending and borrowing platform. Standard DeFi stuff on the surface. But here's the detail that makes this extraordinary. Approximately 75% of World Liberty Financial's economic interests are held by entities connected to the Trump family. Let that sink in for a second. The President of the United States, the person whose executive orders are shaping drug pricing policy, cryptocurrency regulation, and trade law simultaneously, has a direct financial stake in a crypto project that benefits when his administration signals it's pro-crypto. So what's the economic link here? Think of it this way. TrumpRx isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a broader economic signaling strategy. When the administration rolls out a high-profile populist policy like discounted drugs, it does a few things simultaneously. 1. It generates goodwill and political capital. 2. It reduces what economists call regulatory uncertainty. When people feel the government is being active and decisive, markets tend to stabilize. And 3. Every pro-innovation move by the administration sends a signal to the crypto markets. When the administration talks about creating a national Bitcoin reserve, when it drops SEC investigations into crypto companies, when it removes regulatory pressure from DeFi projects, crypto prices respond. And when crypto prices go up broadly, projects like World Liberty Financial benefit. It's not a direct cause and effect that anyone can point to on a spreadsheet, but the environment the administration creates, that matters enormously in the speculative world of crypto. And then there's the Trump meme coin. This one is almost surreal to explain with a straight face, but here we go. The Trump meme coin is essentially a cryptocurrency that functions as what analysts are calling a political sentiment index. Its price doesn't track company earnings or interest rates. It tracks vibes, political vibes. When Trump wins something, politically, legislatively, in the news cycle, the coin tends to surge. When things get rocky, it drops. It's like a prediction market and a fan token had a baby. And here's what makes it economically interesting rather than just absurd. It creates a feedback loop. Supporters who are financially invested in Trump now have a monetary incentive to want Trump's policies to succeed, including policies like TrumpRx. Their investment thesis and their political allegiance become the same thing. That's new. That's genuinely novel in American political economy. Whether it's legal, ethical, or sustainable, that's a different question. All right, we've explained the mechanics. Now let's steelman the critics, because they raise some genuinely serious points. The central question is this: who actually benefits? The stated beneficiary of TrumpRx is the uninsured American consumer who can't afford their medications. And look, if a single mom in Ohio can actually get Ozempic for $200 instead of $900, that is a real, tangible benefit. That's not nothing. But critics point to a different set of beneficiaries lurking in the background. Take 1789 Capital, a venture capital firm linked to Donald Trump Jr. Reports indicate that 1789 Capital has investment interests in digital pharmacy companies. Digital pharmacy companies are precisely the kinds of platforms that would be positioned to execute TrumpRx transactions, the infrastructure layer through which these discounted drug sales would flow. So here's the uncomfortable question. If TrumpRx sends millions of cash-paying consumers to digital pharmacy platforms, and those platforms receive government-backed contracts or favorable regulatory treatment, and venture capital firms connected to the first family have already invested in those platforms, who wins? Is it the patient? Or is it the investor who got in early? Critics argue this is the same playbook as the housing policy debate, the infrastructure debate, the energy policy debate. Government creates the demand, let connected insiders capture the value. Now let's talk about the market risk, what the outline calls the domino effect. Pharmaceutical stocks are a massive part of American pension funds, 401ks and index funds. When the administration signals aggressive price controls or forced price matching, pharma stocks get nervous. We've already seen volatility in companies like Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk when pricing policies are announced. Here's the balancing act. If the government forces dramatic price cuts, pharmaceutical companies face squeezed margins. That could mean cutting R&D budgets, laying off workers, or in the most extreme scenario, triggering a broader market shock as institutional investors flee the sector. But, and this is important, TrumpRx is currently structured as somewhat voluntary. Companies opt in for tariff exemptions. They're not legally mandated to participate. And that voluntary nature is arguably what's keeping pharmaceutical stocks from completely panicking. It's the difference between the government saying, "We strongly encourage you to lower prices," and "We are commanding you to lower prices under penalty of law." The first is uncomfortable for pharma. The second would be a war. The critics' deeper worry is that this voluntary structure is temporary, that it's a foot in the door, that once the infrastructure of TrumpRx is built, the website, the distribution network, the digital pharmacy ecosystem, the government will have the leverage and the architecture to make it mandatory. And by then, the connected insiders will have already positioned themselves to profit from the transition. Is that what's happening? Nobody can say for certain, but the structure is there. The incentives are there, and in economics, incentives tend to win. So let's bring it all together. TrumpRx on the surface is a drug discount platform for uninsured Americans. That's the headline. That's the thing that fits on a bumper sticker. But underneath that, it's something far more ambitious and far more complicated. It's an attempt to restructure how drug pricing works in America, not through the slow machinery of legislation, but through executive trade pressure and market incentives. It's an attempt to create a direct-to-consumer healthcare economy that bypasses the traditional middlemen. And it exists within an ecosystem where the president's family has direct financial interests in crypto projects that benefit from the same pro-innovation regulatory environment that TrumpRx signals. TrumpRx isn't just about cheaper insulin. It's about building a parallel economy, one where healthcare infrastructure and decentralized finance collide, where your drug discount and a digital token might one day be part of the same transaction, where policy and personal financial interest are intertwined in ways American politics has never quite seen before. So here's the closing thought I want to leave you with. We were promised a crypto capital future, a new American economy built on financial innovation, deregulation, and disruption of old institutions. And maybe TrumpRx is a genuine step toward that. Maybe cheaper drugs and a more open financial system really is the future. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe it's a masterclass in using the language of populism and innovation to build systems that ultimately concentrate power and profit among those who were already powerful and already profitable. Is this the future we were promised, or just a new mechanism for the powerful to control the flow of money? That's the question. And honestly, the answer probably depends on which side of the pharmacy counter you're standing on, and whether you got into WLFI early enough. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Are you bullish on TrumpRx, skeptical, or somewhere in the messy middle like most of us? Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, hit that like button, subscribe for more economic breakdowns like this one, and I'll see you in the next video.